of Fintech News, your weekly source for all the news you need in fintech. I'm your host, Nicholas Beliveau, and as always, I'm joined by Cigar, head of research here at Fintech Cadence. Today we have a pretty big day of news, a lot of acquisitions mostly, and we'll be shining a light on a couple startups from North America, but also from Europe. We're going to talk about PayPal, which acquires Honey for a big whoppering $4 billion. Enfuse, a Finnish startup that raises 10 million euros. We're going to be talking about TRM Labs out of the States, and finishing with the $20 billion market cap drop for Bitcoin. So let's get things off right away. Honey, acquired by PayPal. So could you tell us a bit, for those who don't know, what Honey is all about?
In simple terms, it's an add-on for your web browsers, and it tracks certain merchants. If I remember correctly, I used the Honey app for a while, and it wasn't really that great, so I uninstalled it. But from what I remember, it was tracking changes in prices for certain items and certain merchants that you're interested in.
Yeah, so you could flag something like a product. Let's say you're looking for a new laptop, and you're browsing online. You say, look, I won't be notified when the price drops, and the Honey app or plugin should normally tell you, oh, it's dropped at this merchant, you should get it there.
It should, but a lot of times it did not. Yeah.
Okay. Maybe they improved since.
Maybe they improved. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. So what's the motivation for PayPal, do you think, to make a move like this?
When I read this news piece, it reminded me of the Drop startup that we covered a while ago. It was again about using an app that allows you to make purchases based on promos and also connect your financial transaction history.
Right.
So I believe that PayPal sees that Amazon will sooner or later get into payments, and they'll have this advantage because they'll know what people purchase, and they'll also have information on their transaction history. So PayPal is on the other end of the spectrum. They have all the financial information of the user. They know who the user is because they have really strong KYC process because they're involved with payments. So They feel that this would be the right move to go into, so that they can collect data on the purchases that the consumer is making, and develop a more comprehensive set of services and products in the future.
Definitely a data play when we're looking at this $4 billion price tag for a discount startup.
It's really high, yeah. So, and I read a few articles on Seeking Alpha, which were from financial analysts that say that it doesn't make sense, the valuation $4 billion. So it's definitely about the data.
Curious to see how this plays out.
Yeah, exactly.
Next on our list, we have Enfuse. So this is a startup out of Finland, which is known as the biggest fintech startup in Finland. Could you tell us a bit about what they do?
It's a really cool concept. You make a purchase at a store, and then it gives you a carbon footprint of the purchase that you made. It's really complicated, so I don't really know how they do it.
Complicated to calculate a carbon footprint.
Exactly, and plus we were having the discussion is how do they know what purchases that are made in the store?
Right, because on the credit card you would just see, for example, if you go to a grocery store, $100 at the grocery store, but they Enfuse wouldn't necessarily know each item.
Exactly.
But what we hypothesize is if they're seeing the ticket, the purchase is, let's say, a $2,000 plane ticket, well, on industry average, a plane ticket has this carbon footprint versus $100 at a grocery store, it would be this.
Exactly, right. So if maybe they combine forces with the Honey and PayPal and get more comprehensive data and give us a more accurate number. But as of now, I feel like you just said, it's assumptions and then guesses on the carbon footprint.
It's just interesting to see that this is considered the biggest fintech in Finland. Which is Finland like a big player in the fintech ecosystem worldwide?
I don't know much about the landscape in Finland, but I feel what they mean about biggest fintech is it's the most promising fintech as of now, not as of now, for the moment. I think that's what they really mean by it being the biggest fintech or the most promising fintech.
Yeah, and it's an important cause, right? Calculating carbon footprint to be able to battle global warming is definitely a step in the right direction. And it's fun to see the intersection between fintech and environmental causes. Okay, next, TRM Labs raises 4.2 million. So they aim to make cryptos compliant for banks. So you're saying that it's to help fight against illegal trading, pretty much.
It's fighting against all the illicit activities that cryptos are usually, or crypto owners are usually involved with, which is money laundering, using it for terrorist activities or other illegal activities. So TRM Labs, based on their system, which will be really interesting to see how they do it, because we had a startup in our cohort in Ascension who was trying to do the same thing. They give the banks information on where the crypto is coming from, who the owner of the crypto is, and it helps them to reduce illegal activities. It's kind of interesting because we did this news piece with the UK, and that cryptos are being legalized.
So last week, yeah.
Exactly right. And now we see that banks are stepping into the game, and they need tools to make sure that it's compliant. So again, points towards a move of cryptos becoming more and more mainstream.
Yeah, absolutely. And interesting also to note that in this investment, PayPal was also one of the investors. So PayPal really making a lot of moves in the fintech space recently.
Yeah, I think they have this own acquisition arm that is fully focused on fintech. So
yeah.
I'm not so sure there.
And speaking about cryptos, now we move over to what happened in China. So I don't know if you followed, but Bitcoin had a massive plummet, biggest in 6 months, lost over 20 billion in market valuation. What happened there?
They made an announcement that they'll crack down on trading.
Who's they?
The Chinese government, related to trading with cryptos. Since China is one of the biggest, China has the biggest pool of, let's say, crypto holders and traders because of the cheap electricity and the fact that they're more that they were more focused on mining activities. At the beginning, that had a big impact on the price of crypto, and it fell from all the way from close to $10,000 or $9,000 to $5,000 now.
Yeah.
And some people believe that will go down further, but with Bitcoin, your guess is as good as mine. I don't really know what's going to happen with Bitcoin.
All we know is that in general, the tendency towards cryptos is becoming stronger and stronger from governments and startups alike. Adoption is becoming stronger, at least the belief in it, with the regulations being passed, the investment in these startups make them compliant.
In some countries, but China is like going in the opposite direction. I don't know what their end game is, but they seem to be going in the opposite direction as compared to to Europe. Europe is really the leading the charge when it comes to crypto adoption and everything related to it.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be interesting to see, and especially we try to focus as much as we can, and it'd be interesting to have a fintech drinks actually on this, and like for the Chinese market, since in North America sometimes we don't speak about it enough.
Right.
But it's such a huge market with Alipay and all these amazing tech startups out of there that are just different from what we know back at home.
It's a really interesting market. They have different way of doing things, and sometimes when they succeed, they go really big. So because the market is so huge. So yeah, that could be an interesting topic for sure. Yeah.
Speaking about fintech drinks, we have our last one of the year coming up tomorrow. So we hope you could join us. It's at the EY offices on de Maisonneuve. We're going to be speaking about fintech from 2000 to 2020. We really have an all-star panel lined up for you guys. We have over 70 people attending so far, so it's going to be one of our biggest ones and one of the most interesting ones. So we hope you could join us. We have a bunch of surprises and fun stuff. It starts tomorrow at 6 p.m. You could still get your tickets today or tomorrow. I'll put a link later today. But yeah, hope you could join us because, you know, when we look at the past of what happened, so much has happened in the last 20 years. Fintech essentially got created in the last 20 years, and it could teach us a lot about the future. So that's it from us from here at the headquarters of Fintech News. Thanks so much for joining us today, and make sure you tune in next Tuesday at 3:30 for another episode. Take care.